Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to another riveting episode of the Great Debaters Contest. We're in Machakos County and I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Into the realm of politics, the motion today is all political leaders should be limited to 2 terms of office. We have Kasikeu girls going against Makueni boys. Mariam, do you think they can hack it?
I definitely think they can, sorry. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Every question has an answer. It all depends on what you choose. Do you choose the correct answer or do you choose the wrong answer? As I got this debate, the first question that popped into mind was, should they be limited to 2 terms in office? Really? I say they should be only go for 1 term. 1 term is enough because as they come and make their manifestos, they only make manifestos for 5 years in office. 5 years, not 10. They don't say that they will come and be elected for 1 term and do all they needed to do within 2 years. That is 2 years prior to the next election, and expect to be voted for another 2nd year to continue with the same projects that they had started. What do we mean when we say a political leader? A political leader is somebody who is elected, appointed, or nominated to serve a particular office for a certain period of time. This time not is limited. When we say limit, we mean to restrain or to confide or to confide a certain period of time, and to make sure that each and every person or each and everything is accomplished by the person who has been elected. When we say that term limits serve the best buffer to keep those career-minded, if mediocre political types from ganging up the system, hence change. Change, we know, is inevitable. Hence, brings up the adage, new brooms sweep clean. What do I mean? In the year 2016 in China, China's President Xi Jinping started a project that enabled China to be the 2nd largest economy by nominal GDP and the largest by purchasing power parity. This just explains why we need change. Leaders should not be in office for too long. Otherwise, nothing good will ever come from staying for too long. We also think of the boomerang effect. Throw something at somebody, expect it back. Make harsh laws. 10 years down the line, those harsh laws will govern you in the same measure. Really, who wouldn't be cautious about that? Let's just say we're walking down a lane and then you pass by with your car and splash mud all over me. Today, that's tomorrow, walk by the same lane. I will be there. Personally, I will be there to splash mud all over you. During the break of the new dawn, of the new century, we have heard people singing, or maybe some of you have also sang songs about the mighty Kanu. I have a question. Does the cock still crow? How many still hear of the mighty Kanu being a stronghold in any political rally or somewhere doing something that's worthwhile? No one still hears of Kanu. Kanu, that doesn't mean it's dead, but it's dormant. And before I go, I just want to take an opportunity to say that all leaders, wherever you are, 2 terms are enough. Eric Kamau is my name. Debating is my game. Thank you.
Ladies, we'll hear your introduction. You have 3 minutes.
Political leaders, political leaders, political leaders. Who are these political leaders? Are they elected or nominated? These political leaders are compared to an apple or an orange. My name is Stella Ndiwa from Kasikeu Girls High School. Strongly opposing the motion that says all political leaders should be limited to 2 terms in an office. What is a political leader? A political leader is people who are limited to 2 terms in an office. What's a term? A term is a period of time in which something can be limited. On to my first point. Those political leaders who leave the office are more experienced than the leaders who are elected next. What do I mean by this? Let's say that in USA, we have Barack Obama, we have Bill Clinton, and we have George Bush. Those people were not given a chance to handle at that term. That means we lost people who were more experienced? What if the upcoming elected leader comes with a misuse of power? That leader is corrupt. He practices tribalism, nepotism. What should happen to the citizens of that certain country? What will become of them? What of the future? You have to think about them. And I think, don't you think we should give the people the free right to decide on their leaders and how they should have their term? Second point, it doesn't matter on how long the leader lives, but the fact that he leads and does an excellent work. For example, don't you think that when you dislodge a leader, you find that some of the citizens become so nostalgia because they wanted them to serve more. They needed them. They wanted their powers. It's about power, not about how many terms. What if that person have a power, have new ideas, but the upcoming does not have those things? Imagine of a scenario whereby this person had going developments, and you find that the 2 terms are over, and the leader is told to leave since the terms are limited. He only has 2 terms, and they are over. What do you think about the development that person was going on? What will happen to it? How will the people deal with it? The new one who is coming, what will he do with it? I know all of you are thinking about that. That is the hacking issue. But the main issue is what the person will lead about it. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for rebuttals. Gentlemen, you have 3 minutes.
My endorsed mantra, limit, limit, limit. Join me, say, limit, limit, limit. Well, limits and restrictions are made. Imagine living in a place where there are no limits. If limits were wrong, then I feel God would have allowed us to live endlessly. God would have allowed us to live a maximum life where there is no death. Emmanuel Kimeu, Makueni boys. Well, my opponent talked about experience. Why are you in school right now? You have spent 8 years in primary school, 4 years in high school. You will spend 4 years in university. And on top of that, your employer will want 7 years experience. Let me tell you, experience is gained. No one is born with experience. So when you talk about leaders lacking experience, I am worried. Experience is gained. When you talk about the same leaders lacking experience, let me tell you, new brooms sweep clean. I fully think that in the era that we are in right now, we need people who can think, people with an open mind, people who can understand what we all as youths feel should be implemented and what we want we feel that should be fought for and administered to us. When you talk about power, yes, power corrupts, but in this case, power is from one's mind. Power is about how you choose to lead people. It's about how you choose to do things. Are you ready to help the common mwananchi? Are you ready to lift our economy to another level? It's about that leader. And that's why I fully feel that a leader should only be allowed to be in the office for 2 terms. When you talk about elections and people electing people that lack qualifications, let me correct you. Elections are democratic in Kenya. Everyone elects anyone they feel they should. And qualifications for the electoral people, the politicians, are quoted clearly in our constitution in Article 99, Article 137, and Article 180 of the Kenyan Constitution. Development is also on one's mind. Let me try and correct you. The Standard Gauge Railway was a project by the retired President of Kenya, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, but it's implemented right now. So when you talk about development coming to a standstill, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't come out as you think. Most of the projects that have been implemented by the current president in Kenya are projects that were initiated during the reign of the retired President Mwai Kibaki. I fully feel that everything that we're doing right now as politicians, whatever politicians do, it shall come back to them. That is why we need to sit down and understand that 2 terms are enough for any political leader. 2 terms are enough to implement anything that you needed to do. Most people come up with a manifesto to serve for 5 years, but it only serves for 3 years. And during the last 2 years, you come and realize that you did nothing and you just want to come up and stand rise, do nothing still. What you try to do is convince people to give you votes. Politicians are people who can convince you. And not unless you understand that 2 terms can make for them, then they will mess you forever. Emmanuel Kimeu once again, Makueni boys.
Ladies, you have 3 minutes for your cross-examination.
Kenya. What is Kenya without Kenyans? Who are Kenyans without decisions? Maureen Kilonzo from Kasikeu Girls High School opposing the motion that says all leaders should be limited to 2 terms in office. Experience is the best teacher. You can't say that those people who are not experienced are going to lead us in the right way. Imagine of a person who comes in the constitution, doesn't know what happens there, and you're saying that he's going to change us, he's going to lead us. Please, we need people who are experienced. We need people who will show us. On to my first point. Should leaders who have done a good job be dislodged from power? I guess the answer is no. We can't really get rid of the good, yet we need more of the good. Term limits kick out good leaders who may deserve to stay in office because of their excellent work. Candidates don't get re-elected because of name recognition. They get re-elected because of how much they lead us, the right way they lead us. For instance, have you ever wondered why Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda, is usually re-elected every now and then? No. The answer is because he leads the people in Uganda the right way. That's why they need him to continue in that sector. They need him to continue leading because he shows them what is right. He leads them in the right way. We can't leave leadership to amateurs. Term limits will foster an atmosphere of instability and lack of professionalism with regard to lawmakers in Congress. When you have leaders who don't know what's happening, they lead our country to the wrong track. When you have leaders who have been in that sector for a while, they'll show us what we need to do. They'll show us what is happening. Politicians that leave office take with them a lot of experience and contacts on how things are supposed to be done. For example, a person who has been there when he leaves and then another person gets in, he doesn't know what was happening. He doesn't know how the politician who left, how he was conducting the others. He doesn't know how the person who left was leading the others. So we need the people who are there to stay. We need the leaders who are leading us to continue leading us because they are good. If you are good, you should stay. And if you are bad, it's okay if you leave. But if you are good, you can serve more than 2 terms. Thank you.
Thank you to the audience for those questions. The proposers have been asked, is it not unfair to limit good leaders who may be bringing development to only 2 terms? The opposition have been asked, if we don't have term limits, how then do we deal with dictators, for example? We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
It's true, as the adage stipulates, that drastic time calls for drastic measures. Now, I believe all of us here, we are Kenyans. If you're not a Kenyan, then you are an African. You all know what's taking place in Africa. You have heard it all over the media. You know it and I know it. A point to note is that the question my friend is asking had been answered earlier. So next time, please, when you're asking a question, be observant so that you don't misinterpret the information. Otherwise, at this point, I want to tell you that it's great to me when my friend tells me that you can go for 15 years. You talk about qualified personnel, but let me tell you, that a leader, when you've been chosen to work for a given period, or to serve a term, and then from that moment, you must know that there rise the opposition. I don't mean the general opposition now that you're thinking about, but I mean opposition within. There are those people who believe that you've not done anything. Others will recognize you for a job well done. But of course, a question is, this is a $64,000 question indeed, is, are you well prepared when you are served with the right opportunity? The answer is no. why do we usher in new leaders? As much as you are concerned, is because we want to promote development balanceness in our regions. We know you have done good, you have done well, but there is still room of improvement, and somebody believes somewhere that I can still do better. So there is no sin when we give that person an opportunity to also deliver his or her services. Again, the other thing is that all of us here, you know about the senior top dogs in this nation globally. They are keeping up their appearances, trying to protect you from champagning on a beer budget that might cost you an arm and a leg, or indeed this is an insult to injury. Who wants to be injured? None, of course. All of us want to benefit. We are all human beings. Human beings cater for each other. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. We work generally, work at large, so that whatever we gain benefits us, and all of us will benefit from the best now that we are getting. Another thing is that when you are talking about 15 years, that is equivalent to almost 2.5 terms. For example, in our nation, that is adopting a law called Murphy's Law. It states, if something has to go wrong, let it go wrong. Why would we let it go wrong then? If we can rectify it. That is something that we can rectify, so we cannot see somebody doing something which is very retrogressive to us, to the whole society, and we keep calm. And therefore, my friend, be involved on the same. I want to take you back to Rwanda. In the year 2015, March 23rd, partially convinced, watching it over the media, somebody asked, do you feel well when your neighbor is suffering? The answer is no, don't feel well when your she is suffering. I wish you the best once again. From Makueni Boys, Desmond Otieno.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
According to my fellow students, about your question, we cannot choose a leader who is ruining our country. We have common sense, so we choose leaders who are good and benefiting our country. On to my first point. No term limits should be limited to official elected members. This is because, take a country like Sudan, it's really underdeveloped. We need someone who will continue for more than 2 terms so that that country can develop. Because that country is really in a poor state, we need to develop that country to become a more better country. People don't win election because of name recognition, but because of the good job that they have done. So we should therefore choose leaders to stay for more than 2 terms. So allow me to sprinkle some arrogance in that I believe that the issue isn't on how long the leaders should serve in government, but on how the good leadership is really going in our country. So leaders are chosen because of their good and not bad, and we choose leaders according to how we choose leaders who are experienced. It is our duty as citizens to vote for the office. 1 term is not enough for a leader to rule us. In case like in Sudan, they really need time. They really need time and experience more so that their country can develop. Even in Uganda, they still emulate their leaders and choose them in order to lead their countries well. So we choose leaders because they benefit us and not because they ruin us. Not everyone needs to be a politician. So we don't go to school because we want to be politics. So the leaders need more experience in power so that they can be good leaders in their countries. As I can conclude, I can say that we need to elect leaders for more than 2 terms. And we should not throw away because their time is up. We should just give them time so that they can continue to develop our country as more as they want.
Thank you. We'll hear closing submissions now, beginning with Makueni. You have 1 minute.
God made everything, and God made everything in his own time. He's omniscient, omniscient. He knows all of us and controls everything under the sun. I fully feel that everything that God created has a limit. Authority has a limit. Leadership has a limit. Then why should we try and collude and even try and force ourselves to make something that has never worked to work. How do you be in an office for eternity? That is the same as telling me to live from the time I was born to eternity. It doesn't work. Only God can exist from beginning to eternity. He exists from ever and ever. For me, I feel that political offices should only be held for 2 terms. And per se, even 1 term is enough, only that you accomplish what brought you there. You accomplish your manifesto, your 5-year manifesto. You did not come up with a manifesto for 2 terms. You came up with a manifesto for 1 term. Go forward, accomplish it. Emmanuel Kimeu, Makueni Boys.
Kasikeu girls, you have 1 minute.
Scrub off the nonsense of term limitations, because everything knows that individuals, politicians, and like cast members of cats. Individuals may change, but the show goes on. I believe, and I repeat, I strongly believe that we should oppose this motion because term limitations shows that it can't even happen that you only have developments for only 5 years. No, some other peoples have developments for many years, and you find that only 1 term can serve, and you need to have a lot of time. You need to have a 2nd term, even a 3rd term, and even a 4th term for you to accomplish your development.
Makueni Boys, Eric Kimeu, you did a good job. But what was lacking is that passion. I look for passion. When you speak like you are not very sure or you don't buy into what you are saying, then you got penalized for such. Emmanuel Kimeu, very good. I think you are a very good speaker, a very powerful analogy on term limits when you compare it with the life, living forever. I think that came out very well. Desmond Otieno, I felt you should have answered the question. A student asked a question because they probably did not understand what had been mentioned by your team, but then you told them something to the effect that you are not going to answer the question. I feel you should have answered the question. But again, you sounded quite informed, and that is very good. You did good work as a team, and think, Makueni Boys, you have done well.
The opposers, Kasikeu girls, there was good attempt at definition of basic terms. At least you lay foundation for the motion, and we were able to follow. Then language, you tried. Maureen, you're such a good speaker. Unfortunately, you normally start off very well. Every argument you come up with, you start off very well. But somehow, as you continue with the argument, you kind of trail off. So just learn how to come up with an argument and defend it to its conclusive end. And then Beatrice, you are a very good speaker. And I want to encourage you, in fact, if you are not in Form 4 next year, try it again. If you keep on practicing speaking before people, you can do very well. As much as we could see there was stage fright in you, but you still had the drive to go to the end. And that was a very, very good thing on your part. So I would like you to continue. The more you practice, the more you'll get used to being on stage. Thank you.
Kasikeu girls, you were awarded 63%. Please give them a round of applause. And Makueni Boys, you were awarded 69%. You're our winners for the debate.
Congratulations to Makueni Boys, and of course a job well done to the ladies as well. Thank you to our in-studio audience and those of you at home for watching. Give us your feedback, #GDC for SDGs. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.